Today I'll be presenting a speech on why do people who speak the same language, in this case English, have different accents. I remember, I believe it was around 6 or 7 years ago, I took my first big trip to Washington DC. It was my first time traveling up north, and we went to IHOP to get pancakes. I remember the waitress coming, and I heard her, but I was not listening to her. What I mean by this is she had a super thick accent, and I couldn't understand anything she was saying. To the point where after she left, I had to ask my mom what she said. I asked my mom, why did she talk like that? And that was my first time ever hearing about an accent. So why do we have these accents? Well, there are three main reasons why we have accents. Accents come from how we are nurtured and how we grow, tradition, and cultures. First, to understand why we have accents, we must know what an accent is. An accent is a specific mode of pronunciation of a language based on region. I like to call it a greeting card. For people who travel, you can tell by someone's accent where they're from pretty much. A lot of people, there's this saying, park the car in the Harvard yard to pretty much determine where someone is. Down south, we pretty much push our D's, so park the car in Harvard yard. Whereas up north, it's their R's and the D's are more like a ah, so it's park the car in Harvard yard. But you get what I'm saying? You say that saying, you can tell where somebody's from. I think of accents as the fingerprint of the United States, right? Each person has their own individual fingerprint. Each region in the United States have their own accent. So when you grow up in these specific regions, for us down south, we would be considered country to somebody, say, from New York, and vice versa. We think of people from New York as super proper and all stiff and whatnot. So how does being nurtured apply to our accent? Well, for toddlers, from 12 to 16 months, that's when their cognitive ability in their brain really starts developing and they start learning and mimicking. We may think it's annoying when they copy everything we say, but what they're doing is that's their brain developing language in their memory. If they can memorize what you say, they can use it better in language throughout the rest of their life. But when they memorize what you say, they also memorize how you say it. This is how accent plays a part. If I have an extremely thick accent and I'm raising a toddler, and they would develop that accent throughout the years just from hearing me and what I say and also repeating it. This also applies to different nationalities and how they are raised, or as they are nurtured. So in German, beautiful is schön, something like that. The reason that I can't say it is because there is no English word that even remotely relates to that. So if I'm German, if that's my first language, and I'm raising my child, a toddler, and English is my second language, they would develop a thick or foreign accent because of how I speak. It's harder for me to relate to them and apply the proper English to them when there's words that I have in English that there isn't in German. And the same can be applied vice versa. I can say I have shoes, I have glasses, I have wristbands on my wrist. But in Japanese, there is no word for I. So when they learn our language and then they teach it to others, that's why we say they have a thick foreign accent, is because they're applying what they know and transfer it to English. But if we have something that they do not have, it's completely hard to apply. The second reason is culture. So in early colonization, when ships were coming over and sailing over, a lot of the hot spots that they would go to is present day Hawaii and New Orleans. These are strategic historical landing spots. There are a lot of business there. And when all these different cultures came and different languages formed, the main thing that formed was called a pidgin language. This is a combination language. Modern day version of that would be Spanglish, right? You speak, for me personally in my job, I have a lot of people who don't speak English that well. I took 2 years of Spanish, so I know a little something. So when I talk to them, it's pretty much a mix or a Spanglish or otherwise a pidgin language to communicate and get them the food that they want. This can be applied in doctor's office when you have multiple people, or even in school when you have different nationalities and cultures. And finally, tradition. The main one that all of us would be able to pretty much relate to is British English and American English. They have chips, we have French fries. We have drink, they have soda, they have tea or pop. Pop is kind of used within the North when the British first colonized that, which is another way that we can also see tradition applied in modern day English. All right, so in conclusion, accents are pretty much the fingerprints of languages. It applies where, that shows where a person is from based on how they speak. Accents come from how you are nurtured, your tradition, and your culture. And it's with these accents that we all speak the same language